Hey, what's up? Faizan here from ResearchBeast. On this channel, I share different tips and tricks for researchers, different motivational talks, and I also talk to experts about the research methods or anything related to research. So if you're interested in content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hello everybody. I said, today's video is about how to find the best academic journal for your research. Now this question has been asked many times on social media groups or on any other groups where students are not sure about how to find the best academic journal. I often hear questions like, how can I find the journal, or how can I find a journal that charge very low, or how can I find a journal that doesn't charge at all? How can I find a journal that has a very fast turnaround time? So these are some of the questions that we hear very often. Today's video is actually going to answer these questions on how to find the best academic journal for your research. Moving further, before I actually go and give you some tips and tricks on finding the academic journals, it's important to understand what an academic journal actually is. So the definition of academic journal is it's a periodical publication in which scholarship relating to an academic discipline is published. Now, what do we mean by periodical publication? So it means it's not a one-off thing, it's published periodically. Some journals are published every month, some journals are published once a year, some journals are published twice a year, or 4 times a year, or 3 times a year, depending on the journal and depending on the volume of the papers that are being submitted to the journal. Journals are periodically published, and they are basically publishing scholarship relating to an academic discipline. So journals are always academic discipline specific, and they discuss the scholarship about that discipline in itself. Basically, um, whenever you publish something in an academic journal, it stays there. I mean, we have so many examples of many theories that we use these days. For example, Abraham Maslow, or other theories that were presented like 80 years ago, 100 years ago, even 150, 200 years ago. They still go on even after the researchers are they have gone from this world. Their research still stays there, and that's why academic journals are permanent, and they're also transparent forums. So whatever you do, it stays there. Sometimes we have cases where people have done unethical things and publish their papers, and later in a year, 2 years, even 5, 10 years later, their papers are actually not taken down in a way where there's a big disclaimer written on that paper, on the journal, saying that this paper has had some issues. So academic journals are permanent, they're transparent, and basically the main idea is to present, scrutinize, and discuss the research that is done by different type of researchers. Whenever you look for a journal, it's important to look into the aims and objectives of the journal, because aims of the journal would give you a few different things that are very important to know whenever you are thinking of what type of journal you should select. You should select to send your papers. Number one is the subject. As I said, journals are specific to academic disciplines. So which subject is the journal basically looking at? What type of audience the journal is targeting? What type of articles the journal is publishing, what is the quality of the journal, or what's the coverage of the field, which means in terms of ranking, where does the journal stand in terms of the ranking, and also if the journal is associated with any group, any professional group or organization that actually increases the prestige of the journal. So I'll give you a few examples where we look at all these things on how these things are actually discussed into the aims and objectives of the journal. There are a couple of examples here. One of them is International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management. It's one of the top tier journals in hospitality management research. And if you look right away, as soon as you go on the website, this is how it looks like. So you look at the name of the journal, which says International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management. And then it also says that this journal, I mean, you have all these tabs about the editorial team, the author guidelines, the journal information. an impact factor and stuff like this. So normally I would recommend going into the journal information and see the information of the journal. We have another example of Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology, which I will explain why am I telling you actually these things. Now, let's get out of this PowerPoint. Let me show you what do I mean by these things. So this is this is basically the web page of International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management. So if you look, this is the aims and scope of the journal. It simply says that IJCHM communicates the latest developments and thinking on management of hospitality and tourism business worldwide, which gives you an idea that this journal is actually publishing research that is related to latest developments related to the management of hospitality and tourism businesses. Then it also says that this journal is multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary, and it focuses on double-blind peer-reviewed papers covering issues related to strategic management, operations, marketing, finance, and human resource management. There is a lot of stuff here that says that the journal is looking for interchange between researchers and managers. Researchers are encouraged to identify theoretical and practical implications of their work. So these are some ideas that you get as soon as you go on the homepage of any journal, and gives you an indication of whether your research is actually a good match for this journal or not. Now, this is something here because this journal is published by Emerald. So Emerald normally has generic author guidelines, which is on this web page. So I just wanted to show you, and here it shows that what type of papers basically these journals accept. So it's research paper, which is a full paper based on data. Viewpoint papers where author's opinion or interpretation about anything specific is published. There are technical papers, conceptual papers, case studies, literature reviews, or general review of any subjects. You can look at what type of papers basically these journals are publishing. Um, the other example that was here is Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology. Now, why I'm saying this is because even if you look at the title of the journal, it gives you an indication that this journal is not a generic journal, it's a specific journal related to technology. The first one, which is International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management, you see that in the description it says that this journal accepts paper related to latest developments in the management of hospitality and tourism. Whereas if we go to the second journal, which is Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology, you will see that it says very clear cut that the Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology is the only journal dedicated solely for research in technology and e-business in tourism and hospitality. So this actually gives you an idea that this journal is specific to technology in hospitality and tourism. Okay, so now the question is, once we understand what journals are, what is the aim and objective of journal, coming back to the main question, and that was how to find the journal, right? So why is it important to understand finding the journal is an important step? It's because there's so much research that is happening right now. According to Elsevier, Springer, Wiley, Taylors, and Francis are the top 4 publishers in the world, and they are publishing 35% of all the journals in the world. If you look, according to their survey, there are around 5,000 scientific journal publishers, which include independent publishers, which include universities, colleges, professional organizations, non-for-profit organizations, stuff like this. And there are around 30,000 peer-reviewed scholarly journals. If you look at the type of research that is being published, it's around 2.5 million, I think, research papers that are published around the world every year. And it's expected that this rate is going to increase by around 3% per year. And that's the same for the unique authors in a year that publish the research. Because there's so much research being published and there are so many different journals, it's important that researchers understand the tips and tricks on how to find the best journal for their research, so that the papers are never the papers don't get lost, or the papers are really read by the people they are meant to be read by. Moving further, um, while we are talking about academic research, it's important to also touch base on the open access publishing, which is a rising trend. And I normally support open access publishing because there are so many countries where the universities or the libraries do not really have subscription to the for-profit model of research that is being published. So open access does help people. It does help obviously authors, but most importantly, it helps the readers of the research. It also helps in increasing the citations. In business and management, if you publish open access, your citations are to be expected to be increased by around 50, 60 to 70 to 80%, which is a good thing for the researchers because it means that their research is being read and is being used by other researchers in their studies. Now, when we talk about open access publishing, it's important to understand that open access doesn't equate to paid predatory journals. Most of the paid journals also charge authors under the impression that since the papers are open access, you are going to charge. But please remember, as I said, that there's a common question that is being asked, and that is how to find a cheap journal or how to find a journal that doesn't charge to publish. Predatory journals are something that we really need to talk about. As I said, if you are publishing, your work remains there, and if you publish in a paid predatory journal, that is associated with you for the whole of your life. So my recommendation would be to please avoid publishing in journals that charge you to publish. Now, I do understand there are some journals that are very good, high quality journals that require you to publish, and that's completely fine as far as you're not publishing a crazy amount of money to just. So while we talk about predatory journals, it's very important to know that we have a good resource called Bell's List. Here's the link. You can use the link to actually get onto this list. This list has a lot of journals that have some sort of predatory norms. And if you find a new journal that you're not sure about, it's always a good idea to check your journal against this list. I'll show you how does it look like. So if we go to here is the original list. If you go, you will find a lot of journals here. So it's always a good idea that you go and check the list of publishers that are considered predatory or the list of journals that you are looking at. If you go to standalone journals, you will find all these journals that are into this Bell's list. So from here you can get an idea if your journal is a predatory journal or if it's a good journal that you can go ahead with. Okay, so while this is a good tool to have in order to know if the journal that you're targeting is a good journal, if it's a predatory journal. If it's predatory, please stay away from it. Let's go into the tips or some of the methods that can help you in finding the best possible journals. Um, the number one is SSCI master list. Now, why I'm saying that to go to SSCI master list is because normally what happens is there are a lot of predatory journals that put their impact factor on the website. Now, normally impact factor is a copyrighted thing by Web of Science that is given to the journals that are indexed into Web of Science. Some predatory journals are not indexed in Web of Science, but they calculate their impact factor by having the number of papers published and then having the citations that they have, which are mostly self-citations. They calculate impact factor and just put it on the website. Now, some researchers do not understand this, thinking that this is the same impact factor that everybody is talking about. So the best thing that you could do is go to the SSCI master list and find out if the journals are there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this PowerPoint into the description of this video below. You can get the copy of this PowerPoint slides. All the links in the PowerPoint are working. All of these links are working in the PowerPoint. So if you get the copy of the PowerPoint slides and click on the link, it should be able to direct you to the proper web pages. So let's go into the SSCI masters list and see what we can get here. So normally this is the SSCI, you know, Web of Science. What we can do is go to search journals, and here there are all the journals that we have, which is close to 25,000. So what we need to do is we need to click on the filters. So right now, because I am from hospitality and tourism, which is part of social sciences citation index, If you are from arts and humanities, or if you are from science like physics, chemistry, you would select accordingly. I would just select social science citation index, and you see that from 24,000 it becomes almost 3,500. And then within SSCI, I need to go and find out, let's say, business collection. So I go to business collection, and if I see now, I have a little bit more papers because a little bit more journals because some of the journals are indexed into other indexes as well. And then if I come here to category, I can put the category here. So let's say if I'm looking at hospitality, I'll put hospitality, click on hospitality, and now I have 56 results. Okay. Similarly, you can do other things. You can go to language. You can select English or any other language that you want to select, and you will see that you have around 50 results. Now, remember that these 50 results are not only for hospitality, they are for hospitality, leisure, sports, and tourism. So if you are a hospitality researcher, you can look at this list, and this list will be showing you all the journals that are in hospitality and tourism, and you can pick up a journal from this list, which if you do, you will have no other worries to think about if the journal is a good journal or if it's a fake journal, because you are picking it up from the master list. Now, what you can do is for Web of Science, like you see here, my name, you need to create an ID for yourself, which is free. And if you have an ID, that helps you a lot. So let's say if I have to look at this Asia Pacific Journal of Tourism Research, I can go to the profile page, and it gives me a lot of stuff. It gives me, this is published monthly, this is the website of the publisher, the website of the journal, and a little bit details about the metrics and stuff like this. So these are different things that you can have access to for the journal, and it just shows you that the quality of the journal is pretty good. You can look at the impact factor, which is here, 5-year trend. The 2018 impact factor is here, and all this. So this is tip number one. Go to the master list of Web of Science and find the journals from there, which would help you a lot. Hey guys, if you think you are getting some value out of this video, please do not forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. I would also appreciate if you can share this video within your social networks or within your networks of people that may need this video. Going back to the video. Moving on, number two is Scopus list. So as you know that there are a lot of journals that are also in Scopus. So if we go to Scopus list, you can also see that it's similar to the one that we had. This is Scopus list. Okay, so normally if you do not know how to get here, just go to Google and write Simago journal and country rank, and you will come to this web page. So what you need to do is come to journal ranks, explore, and once you come here, these are all the journals, right? So it's around 32,000 journals. Again, you have to do the filters. So in the filters, let's say I go to business management and accounting. Within that, I go to anything. Let's say I go to, again, tourism, leisure, and hospitality management, because that's my field. If your field is strategy or marketing, you can do it accordingly. So once I get here, from the types, it has a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to select journals, which would reduce it to journals. Now, these are all the journals that are hospitality, leisure, tourism management in Scopus. But if you want to know only the open access journals, you click on this, and this will give you only the open access journals, which are just 15 journals, right? If you want to know only the Web of Science journals, then you just select this one. Now, remember here, Web of Science would also include um, all the social sciences citation index and emerging sciences citation index journal as well. But this is the way to find the journals. Again, for this one, you don't have to make an ID or anything. Let's say I click on Journal of Travel Research. So again, if I go here, you will see that there's a lot of different statistics and numbers that gives you an idea of how good the journal is. If you look, this journal is in 3 different subject areas: tourism, transportation, and geography. And since 1999, this journal has been a top tier journal for all these 3 disciplines. The impact factor, which is basically for Web of Science. For Scopus, they use SJR, which is Scopus Journal Rank. It's 3.18, which is pretty good. So again, here is how you can find journals from the list of Scopus. So that was number two. Number three, if you are in business school or if you are part of business management school, another tool that you can use is Financial Times Top 50 Journals used in business school research ranking. This is pretty this is pretty interesting because many top tier universities are now using Financial Times 50 journals, and it should take you to the 50 journals in Financial Times research rank. So again, but these journals are mainly related to business management and finance. So this is a list of all these journals that you can have a look to. This is again, if you pick up any journal from this list, these are top tier journals, and these journals do not have any problem with themselves. All right. So okay. All right, number four is Google Scholar. Now we all use Google Scholar. Now Google Scholar, I would be a little, careful with this because Google Scholar picks up a lot of stuff. But again, for most of the journals in the field, if they are top tier in one list, they would be also top tier in other list. I mean, pretty much. So here again, if you look at top publications in Google Scholar, go to the categories. There are a lot of different categories that you can select. Let's say I select business, economics and management, then I go to subcategories. There are a lot of different categories. Let's say I go to marketing. It gives me the top 20 journals in marketing. Again, any journal from this list would do the trick. You can pick up the journal from here. The last one would be, the second last one would be check with the reputable publishers. So there are publishers like Emerald, Elsevier, Sage, Taylors and Francis, Routledge, Pearson. All these publishers are pretty reputable. If you go to their website, you can also find which journals can you access. So let's say I come to Emerald Publishing, e-journal collections. These are all the different journals that Emerald publishes, right? So these are the categories. So let's say if I am into HR, learning and organization studies, I click on this, it gives me all the journals that they have under this category. So again, any journal in this list would do the trick as far as it's a reputable journal that is very, as far as it's a reputable publisher that is very well known and everybody sort of knows about it. So that's another tip. And the last one would be your own literature review. So when you are doing your literature review, you would see that some papers are being cited again and again with many other papers, and you can go there and see what type of journals they have published. And if you pick up any journal from your own literature review, the trick is again the same. You have to go back, check it in Scopus or check it in SSCI and see if it's ranked there. If it's ranked there, then you are in good shape. You can proceed with that type of journal. These are different methods of finding journals. I'm also going to give you two other tools that you can use to find journals. And these two tools are very interesting. So one of them is Elsevier Journal Finder. If you go to Elsevier Journal Finder, it basically looks like this. So all you need to do is put the title of your paper and the abstract. You can also put the keywords or the area of research and see what journals does it give you. So I just took out one of my papers that is already published. Let's see what it gives me. So let's take the title, put it here. Let's get the abstract. Put it here. Let's get the keywords. Okay, so I just hit enter. But anyway, this is the top 50 journals that it gave me for that title as well as the abstract. But what's interesting here is that you can actually limit by site score. So some of the journals, let's say at least one site score. And then if you go to site score, it basically means that on average, how many citations each paper have received in this journal in the last 3 years. So, and then also it would give you an idea of uh, when do you get your first decision, right? So let's say if you want to find journals that normally would take 4 to 6 weeks, let's say, for the first decision, then look, if it brings it down to 23 journals, so you can pick up any of these journal. It also shows you the text match score, like which journal is the best match for the title and the abstract that you have submitted. So these are different type of this is a very interesting tool that you can use to find the best possible journal for your research work. Another tool that you can use is Web of Science Manuscript Match, which is a new tool. So like earlier I showed you the Web of Science web page. If you go to Web of Science web page, right, which is here. So here, if you look, match manuscript, right, already have a manuscript. So if I click on match manuscript, it simply asks you about your title and the abstract. So let's get the abstract. Let's put it here. And then let's get the title and put it here and see what does it give me. This is the first time I'm also using it, but let's see what it gives me. Okay, so very interesting. This gives me 49 results, but again, you have to use the filters. If let's say I'm only focusing on SSCI, okay, which brings it from 49 to 39 results. And then let's say if I am focusing on open access, I mean, let's leave open access for now. Let's say we look at frequency. We are looking at monthly papers, uh, or let's say we are looking at quarterly journals. So it becomes 20. Now these are different journals that I can target based on the paper that I have. Again, these are just some tools that can help you in finding the best possible, you know, best possible journals for your work. Now, please remember, these are just tools and you have to use them wisely. If you want to find the best journal, a good quality journal, a journal that doesn't require you to pay, a journal with a good turnaround time, these are different tools that you can use. So I hope that you have you get some sort of learning from this video. In the comments, please also tell me what type of tools do you use, or what type of tips or tricks you might want to share with the viewers of this video. If you have anything new that you want to share that have worked for you over the years, please type them down in the comments below, and I will be very happy to reply to your comments.